I was browsing Facebook and I'm following Moki Mats' page for a while. He painted this SD dati masama ni Gundam. If you guys don't know, SDs are really detailed, but the parts are mostly color inaccurate unless you paint it or use the sticker provided with the kit. So I was inspired to paint one of my SDs, and this is what I will be working on, the SD Verde Buster. As you guys can see, this really looks great snap built, but if you compare this with the one in the manual, you will notice a lot of color inaccurate parts. It is also worth mentioning that these SDs either have hollow parts or parts with seam lines. This particular SD has a lot of seam lines, and in my opinion, it's better than having a lot of hollow parts. The weapons in its shoulder has a long seam line, for example. There are different ways of removing a seam line. Today, I will be using Mr. Cement SP. Basically, you just have to apply this on a seam line, and capillary action will happen. Then you just have to squeeze the two parts until you can see some cement squirt out a little bit. When removing a seam line, that would mean you would not be able to separate that part again. So for the head, I would not be able to separate the eyes from the head, which means I will need to either mask or hand paint the eyes. So keep that in mind whenever you do this yourself. For this gun with the bayonet, you can see that the blade can actually be hidden, but I have decided to leave the blade out just to avoid the paint getting scratches from hiding it and showing it up in the front. Another thing is that this weapons has a gimmick that it can be connected to each other. However, I will be not using that just because it looks silly to me. These guns can also be connected to the part on the waist, but that actually limits the articulations, so that will be not used as well. The only parts that are hollow on this particular ST are the hands, but that will be easily fixed with some putty later. This part on the shoulder has a seam line, but I don't have any idea on how to remove it without making it harder to paint, so I will leave it as is. The seam line on the shoulder is actually interesting to remove. I will be doing a C-joint mod to be able to separate the arms to the shoulder. If you are interested on how to do it, there are a lot of YouTube tutorials about it. After the cements and seam lines, you just need to progressively sand the part, starting from lower to higher grit. After that, as you can see, the seam line is gone. There are parts that requires a lot of masking, for example this gun. Now for the eyes and the cameras on the guns, you can get away by hand painting it instead of masking it.